Okay, guys, are y'all excited for night 2 of Bible school? Okay, so I have a surprise for you. You know all those pictures of all those dig sites and all those places? Those people right there have seen it all. And I got to see some of that too, so that was pretty awesome. So, this is my dad, and he has traveled to Israel several times. His name is Dr. Bobby Sparks, and we just call him Papa around our business. And so I would like to introduce you to Dr. Sparks. He's a graduate of Texas Baptist Institute with a doctorate in theology. He's married to Dottie. She's our bonus mom. He's been in the ministry for 55 years and is currently the pastor of Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church for 33 years here in Greenville. He's done extensive research and studies in the Old Testament law, particularly in the Old Testament tabernacle and the temple. He's published books and videos on the Old Testament tabernacle related subjects, and 2 of them are coming out really quick in the next few weeks, called Where the Temple Was Not Located, and What Day Did Christ Die? Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? So y'all make sure to be looking for those and get those. He has a chart on the timeline of Israel's bondage in Egypt and being published this week. That's really cool. He leads tour groups to Israel every year. That's how come I got to go. And Amanda got to go, so that was pretty amazing. He has participated in archaeological digs in the Old City of David, the Temple Sifting Project, Qumran Caves, and is scheduled in a few weeks to go with Grammy, to go with Dottie, to Israel in July for 3 weeks for the Shiloh excavations, hoping to find the locations of the tabernacle and Shiloh. How cool is that, you guys? He is providing ideas and design for a Christian venue to be built in America. And the details are not going to give us. You'll have to hook me up on that one because that's going to be really cool. Really cool. So, with none other than that, there's Dr. Sparks here. And he loves kids, so y'all give him a hard time if he comes over.
I'm going to go through some of these quickly because of our time. I have right here a couple of Hebrew scrolls. Now these are real. These were hand printed. This is a sheepskin scroll. This scroll is about 125 years and it came out of Europe surviving the Holocaust. And I got some tabs on here. You won't be able to read it, but that's the Exodus chapter 20 with the 10 Commandments. This is sheepskin, and you're welcome to come and look at it. The next one, this one right here, is deerskin, and it's about 250 years old. They were writing this, and this is done by hand, and they were writing this about the time that George Washington was fighting the American Revolution. So this is a pretty old scroll right here, and this is a deerskin. On the artifacts here, you kids like to see this. You heard about the walls of Jericho falling down? Well, right here is a piece of the wall of Jericho. That's one of the stones. When the walls of Jericho fell, they didn't just fall over, they just disintegrated into a great big pile of gravel. And the stones are about this size, some bigger and some smaller, but that's out of the walls of Jericho. And I know you've heard the story of David and Goliath, and how that David took the stone and he in the sling and he killed the giant Goliath. Well, he used a stone about this size right here. This came out of the valley of Elah, and this is not the stone, okay? It's the same size stone, just about like the kind of stone that David would have used. And that stone had been traveling about 125 miles an hour when it made contact with Goliath's brain. And so it would do any giant in. they would have used at the time of Christ. And this one in particular, this is called a Herodian, and this lamp dates back to the time of Jesus. This lamp is as old as, when Jesus was here, this lamp was here. And they would put a wick in here, and they would put olive oil in here, and they would light the wick, and you would carry this around in the dark, trying to find your way to your room or whatever. But this is a actual original Herodian lamp at the time of Christ. Now this is not the oldest one that I have. I have a couple of newer ones. And this one is called the Byzantine period. Some of y'all might know what that means. But this one is about 350 AD. And then I have a couple of Jewish lamps that are 100 BC. 100 years before Christ. There's two of those here on the table. And then here's one, two of them. This one is a Roman lamp, and we know this one's Roman lamp because it has an engraved person on it, people. And the Jews would never make an image of a person. They might put a plant or an animal, but they would not put people on there because that was considered idolatry. So this lamp right here is about 100 years before Christ. But that's not the old one yet. Right here is a cup. And this cup is not finished. It was a priest ritual cup. When the priest would drink out of for their rituals, a stone, this is a stone cup, and it's not as porous as a clay cup would be, so they considered it more pure. And once they used the cup, they broke it. So you can't find one that's finished. And you can only find them unfinished, and this is a stone cup, purification cup for the priest of Israel, and it's not finished, but that's as close as we can get to finding one of those cups. And they're very rare, and when you do find them, they're very expensive. Now, right here is a little pitcher, and you could put oil or something in it and have a little spout to pour it. Y'all remember the story of the 10 virgins, and 5 of them had enough oil and they were wise and 5 of them didn't? Well, the ones that had extra oil, they had something like this, and they could just refill their lamp during the night. And then 5 of them were careless, and they just brought their lamp with the oil in it. When it burned out, well, they were out of luck. You heard of the Philistines? Here's a piece of pottery, that Philistine pottery. Philistine pottery is very rare, and you can't hardly get any of that. But this is Philistine pottery, and you know how David was always fighting the Philistines, and King Saul was fighting the Philistines. Well, that's some of their pottery. Y'all ready to get to some of the old stuff? You remember when Israel was in bondage in Egypt? You remember that? And how that Moses led them out? Well, this piece of pottery right here is as old as Moses. This piece of pottery came out of, this style pottery originated in the Hebrew graves in Egypt. When the Hebrew people were in captivity in Egypt, and they died there and were buried, these pieces of pottery was buried with them. And this piece originated somewhere there and was brought to Israel at some point and found in Israel. But this is a very rare and unusual piece. But this dates back to the time of Moses. This lamp, this is another lamp. You put oil in here and a wick out here. And this piece of pottery dates back to the time of King David and King Solomon. These are original pieces, by the way. These are not replicas. Another piece is this lamp right here, and this is early Canaanite. You heard of the Canaanites when Israel came in and Joshua drove out the Canaanites? This is early Canaanite set it on the table, and that would provide light in the evening for eating your supper. This lamp dates back to the time of Abraham. So this one is old as Abraham. But that's not the oldest one. I have a little cone shape right here, and there's engraving on it, and it looks like hieroglyphic, but it's actually older than Egyptian hieroglyphic. And this is Mesopotamia, called Mesopotamia. And I got this translated. I bought it not knowing what it was, got it translated. Now it's become very valuable because on here it tells the name of a king of a city named Lagash. And it was in not far from Babylon. And this king had a temple built dedicated to his false pagan god. It's all on this stone. The king had a son who built his own city, and this king that's named on this stone, his son is named Ur. And Abraham came from the city of Ur. So this stone is much older than Abraham, and it has Mesopotamian writing, so you want to look at that very carefully. But you want to now see the oldest one? All right. Right here, this bowl, and of course this one is I consider my most precious piece, but this bowl right here is the oldest of them all. This bowl is about 4,500 years old. It was here when Noah was here. And it was created shortly after the flood. It is about the oldest pottery of human existence that we're going to find immediately after the flood. Everything before the flood just about destroyed. But after the flood, and they came off of the ark, and they started making their pottery, this was one of those pieces that they made. It was here when Noah and his 3 sons were still alive here on the earth. So that's the oldest piece that I have, about the oldest that you'll find of human on the earth. I have a couple of pot handles. One is Roman, one is Jewish, and when you get a chance to come and look at it, we'll be available, and I'll show you some of it in a little more detail. Time has run out. Right here is just a box I have of broken pieces of pottery. Here is the rim of a stone jar. Here is a piece that dates back to Abraham and before. This is Canaanite. This is what you would find in a lot of the digs over there. And you're welcome to come up and look at it afterwards. So for this, the rest that you have to do tonight,